Hi there. Welcome to Bourbon Turntable. This is the show that blends the love of music with the love of whiskey. Tonight, we have part two of our show with Jeff Gorman of Illiterate Light. Hope you enjoyed part one. If you haven't seen it yet, go back, catch up, then jump right into this one because the conversation is fantastic. Jeff's an incredibly talented musician and one of the finest songwriters in music today, as far as I'm concerned. So you'll want to be sure to catch part one, and you're here now, so you can listen to part two. But before we start with part two, we want to tell you about, well, we can tell you about this Absinthe show. Man, the documentary that Brian Cushing and Alan Bishop put together on the absinthe in Switzerland County, Indiana, and the history of absinthe in America. It is just fantastic. You can go to the Victorian Barroom YouTube page and find it there. We've also shared the link several times within our own Facebook page and Facebook group. So check that out for sure. Also, Bar Cart Co-op. You need to know about the Bar Cart Co-op because we've got some really great shows and content for you. Distillers Talk is the first one. Alan Bishop and Christy Atkinson. They are talking with distillers from across the country and around the world about anything and everything in terms of distillation. They have some fun guests. It is a wonderful show if you want to really do a deeper dive into the things of whiskey. Now, if you want to do an even deeper dive than that, Alan does a show called One Piece at a Time Distilling Institute, where you can submit your questions about anything in the terms of distillation, and Alan's going to post a video response to that question, not just for you, but for all of us to watch. Alan also has a show called If You Have Ghosts, You Have Everything. Alan will talk about paranormal issues, supernatural issues, spiritual issues, conspiracy theories. He really gets into a lot of unique conversations. I was actually a guest on his show not too long ago, so you could check that out as well. My Whiskey Den with Pat and Mike and Mitch airs every Monday night, 9 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Central Time. My Whiskey Den is where craft whiskey is king. They have some wonderful guests. They do some great and interesting tastings, and it's always fun to hang out with the good folks in the chat. Last but certainly not least, Whiskey in My Wedding Ring with David Levine. David is an excellent writer. He has a blog that where he'll do whiskey reviews. He has a podcast where he'll have conversations with distillers and others that are in the whiskey adjacent industries. David's a really smart guy, really clever guy. I know that you'll enjoy that. And you also need to know about our show, Bourbon Turntable. If you're watching us right now on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button and the like button and everything but the X at the top where it takes you out of the screen. Just hit whatever button's there. We'd appreciate it. You can also listen to us on your favorite podcast platforms. We have a Facebook page where we post all of our shows. We have a Facebook group where we can post things together. What are you tasting? What are you drinking? What are you listening to while you're drinking it? Join into the conversation there. We always have a good time with that. So without any further ado, I want to go ahead and let you get started on hearing part two of our conversation with Jeff Gorman of Illiterate Light.
Let's talk music. Well, specifically your music. We've been talking music. This is the first album, Illiterate Light, named after the band Illiterate Light. Yeah.
There you go.
So how long had you been working on the material for the debut album?
You know, a lot of folks aren't completely familiar with this just because we kind of breezed through it when it all went down. But that record came out in October of 2019. Mm-hmm. And in 2015, 2016, and 2017 and 2018, every year prior to that, we put out a 5-song EP.
Really?
So what happened was we had kind of DIY done all these, recordings for our first 3 EPs. Mm-hmm. And Then we ended up putting out a song that's on that record called Better Than I Used To.
Great
And
song.
yeah, and we were really happy with how it came out. And it was also, our sound really changed because we had spent all this time on the road, changed in a way that like we felt like that recording was more of the sound that we wanted to showcase. And so we actually, when we put that song out, we wiped our entire back catalog, which was 4 EPs. And we essentially kind of rebranded with that song, saying, okay, cool. Like this is what we kind of want people to focus on. And that worked in our favor because we had a lot of, people in the industry and also a lot of new fans going, who the hell are you guys? Like there was no backstory,
Right.
which was cool. That's what we wanted. We were just like, we just wanted to put out this song that we were like, this is us, And so then we started kind of getting some people knocking on our door and saying, what's the story here? We'd love to see you live. And then they come out and see us live, and it was really fun, and they're like, oh my gosh, it's like you've been a band for 5 years. And we're like, well, we have, So anyways, we put that song out, and then we signed a record deal, and then we spent 6 months or so. We basically we kind of funded the record ourselves, and when it was finished, we found a home for it. We found a record deal. And it was basically like, go out on the road for 2 weeks at a time and then go right into the studio for 3 or 4 days at a time. So the album was not one long recording session, which is, kind of the ideal. Sometimes that's the ideal way to do it because you can focus and you're just relaxed and everything's set up. We were basically ping-ponging between tour, studio, tour, studio, tour, studio, tour, studio. Yep. And so that album just kind of contained a lot of jumping around, jumping back and forth in the road. And yeah, we wrote it over the course of 6 or 8 months and recorded it throughout that time.
Okay. Yeah. And there's kind of a playfulness to the sound of that album.
Absolutely.
Kind of a 60s pop playfulness, even. If that's fair.
It is fair. Yeah. We are definitely, I don't know. It's I'm just literally racking my head around not that it was that long ago, but we've got so much new music coming out that I kind of need to just, take a beat here and think back to what was going into that record. But we recorded almost all of it in Richmond, Virginia. There's 3 songs that we recorded in Nashville with an awesome producer named Vance Powell.
He's great.
Who's just great, awesome dude to work with. We recorded Sometimes Love Takes So Long, Existential Crisis, and Without Walls, all with Vance. And but everything else was recorded in Richmond. And yeah, it was very playful. It's like our shows tend to be very playful. There's just a real looseness and a little bit of a kind of riding the line between like punk rock, I don't really, give a shit, and also like just kind of sort of that post-punk sort of thing of like it's got to be there's this kind of place that I really love to get to where it's like it's kind of ironic and funny for some reason, and it's also really genuine and heartfelt. And sometimes when you can hold those two things together, like that's where I feel like Jake and I find a sweet spot.
Yeah, because even in Sunburned, which is a much darker album, there are hints of humor. If you're paying attention, there are hints of humor in that album. But it is very different in terms of feel. And this came out 2023. Is that right?
Yep, that came out just over a year ago.
Yeah,
that was end of January in 2023. And yeah, that was really it is a different record because none of those songs were played live before we went into the studio. Whereas the self-titled album, we played all of those songs live in all these different ways prior to taking it into the studio. Sunburned was, like, of course, COVID, and it's just kind of like, all right, well, we're going to keep rolling forward and do a record. And we had so much fun making it, but yeah, it was heavier, it was just it was a darker time. Like on the first record, I remember being in Richmond and having, just a great fan base and group of friends and community there.
Mm-hmm.
We would have people over to the studio, like while we're, recording and stuff like that. And people come and just bring pizza and beer. And, you're tracking a record, and then all of a sudden it kind of turns into a party. And then you go back to tracking the record, and you really capture that energy, and for Sunburned, it was like, nobody could come like hang at the studio. Like it was really just, it was really still very kind of tight in the atmosphere of the world.
Yeah.
And I'm still really proud of that record. And it's so much fun to play live. There's lots of, just big moments and stuff like that. But it's different for sure.
Yeah. I wrote down a question about it. Is everything in D minor the saddest of all keys?
No, it's not. But I do appreciate the reference. Everything, it's funny. There's so many open tunings. Jake was ready to kill me once we finished the record, because now I take 4 guitars out on the road, and I used to just take 1. But yeah, now it's and it's like there's songs like Heaven Bends on that album, which like really starts with like sort of syncopated drums and a synth loop, and it's very dark. And then it kind of goes into this grungy section and becomes like this big rocking guitar thing. We still were holding on to these sort of thematic changes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just, it's a dark album.
Yeah. Well, the song Wake Up Now starts with, is anybody there? I'm stuck here with my demons. I can't come out for air. I can't tell if I'm dreaming. That's the world's COVID experience.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And so we've started each show since we put that album out with that song. And by the end of it, it's just, it's like, we're really rocking and rolling. And it, it's that's exactly right. And the ironic moments, or the funny moments, like Fuck LA, is like a total, I mean, I wrote it as a demo and shared it with our producer and with Jake, and they were like, dude, like put that on the record. Like I was like, I just thought it was funny, and then it just kind of wheeled its way onto the album, and we've played it live sometime. The funniest thing about that song is playing it live. It either like steals the show, or like 100% there, or it falls so flat on its face, and you have like 3 minutes of the crowd just going like, "What are you doing right now?"
Yeah.
If folks listening to this haven't heard the tune, you'll understand what I mean after you listen to it.
You need to listen to it, and that's where you've got to have that sense of humor. You've got to listen to it through the prism of sense of humor.
There you go.
But it's also, you're talking about come back home.
Yeah.
Wherever you are, come back home.
Right. Which is that space between this is funny and ironic and 100% authentic and 100% heartfelt. And that's what my life feels like, And so I'm trying to find a way to put that into our music.
Yeah. You talked about the connection between music and movies, and in Light Me Up, you say you tried to give me the blue pill, little Matrix reference.
Yes.
So.
Oh wait, no, that's not Light Me Up. That's Killer Not a Lover.
Oh, that is. Yes.
when you
sorry.
That, no, it's totally cool.
Yeah.
I'm glad you picked up on that, because I love The Matrix, and I'm like a huge junkie for that film. And also there's a lot of philosophical stuff in the movie that's really fun. But I was a total nerd working that line in. I was just like, I'm just throwing this in because I love
it works. Yeah. It works. All right. All right. I apologize. I'm going off my handwritten notes here, and I had the wrong thing written down. But I want to get to that song in a minute when we talk about the new album.
Cool.
But Light Me Up. The point I wanted to make, or the thing that I wanted to say about the song was, it starts out, after all is said and done, what the hell have I become? Okay. That one of the things that I really enjoy about your songwriting is how introspective it is. And that is certainly an introspective question. When you're writing that, what's your answer? Or did you have an answer?
I remember exactly where that was coming from, because on our first album, we were fortunate to work with Atlantic Records, and we did like a radio campaign on a few of the songs. And I'd never done that before. And what it meant was, for like 3 weeks, we just flew all over the country and just went into radio stations and just did interviews, and then would play for radio folks. And it was kind of like every 4 hours was like a loop, was like the same thing for like 3 weeks in a row. And you kind of say the same thing over and over again and get asked the same questions over and over again. And I came back from that, and it's like, at a certain point, you're almost like sick of yourself. You're like, I don't even care to like, you can't show up and act that way, because there's somebody on the other side that's really genuine. Right. But on your side, you're going like, I don't even care about myself anymore. Like, I'm like, what am I even saying? And I think I was also dealing with a little bit of this sense of, after college, I'd been working on this farm for like 3 years, and I thought my life was going to go in that direction. I mean, I was pretty ready to, start saving up to buy some land, and really, I love working with my hands, and I was really excited for that. But I've always wanted to play music. And I think at a certain point, I realized that the cost of playing music is, that's all you do. You really can't do a whole lot else. And so I think I was kind of grieving this, like, I've had to say goodbye to certain sides of myself,
right? Because
this is what I do, and I love what I do, but I miss these other things, and they're part of me. And so I think that's where that line came from. I haven't really figured it out, as much as I know what I'm doing is what I'm supposed to be doing. That's
huge.
Yeah, yes.
That's huge. Right.
Yeah. And I love it. And I really do. But I do miss other things in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's always trade-offs.
Yes.
And trying to hold everything in balance at once means that you may not get anything done of any significance.
Correct.
Other than, balancing the plates as they're spinning.
Right.
The album ends with a song called "Luckiest Man Alive," which seems like a very interesting choice for a song title and a song to be included on that album.
Yeah.
But it's a very good song. Talk a little bit about the choice to include it there.
That song came about, I wrote it in Nashville when Jake and I were writing for this album. And it was kind of crazy timing, because my father passed away in December of 2020. And it had been a long time coming. It was, of course, still very, very difficult. A long time coming, meaning he had a neurodegenerative disease. Right. And so
MSA, right?
MSA, that's correct. And we were aware that the time was approaching. And I was there for his death, and it was amazing to be a part of that, and to, be with my family in the midst of all of that. And 2 months later, we were like in deep dive writing mode for Sunburned.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was carrying all of that grief, and Luckiest Man Alive is another sort of funny song title, because the song it's a bit sad,
Yeah.
I just kind of had this real clear awareness that, when somebody you're so close with dies, you're confronted with your own mortality. And so I'm sitting there going, okay, I'm gonna die, and I'm gonna leave. Like, I just watched my mom send, my dad off, and one day that's gonna happen to me, or it's gonna be vice versa, and Sarah will die or before me or whatever. And it's kind of weird to start just like ruminating on that and writing a song about it, but it was also very healing for me. And I kind of had this sense, after he died, my mom had this real connection to him, and it was like it has stayed until present day.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just kind of gave me this awareness that life goes on after you die, and you still stay connected to people. And so the line that I always gravitate towards in that song is, when I die, I'll love you from the other side.
Yeah.
And it's sort of this love that, can't be broken by death. And that was really what I wanted to communicate with that song. And I also just, I felt like it was a fun way to write a love song. Not ready for the radio, but yeah.
No, it is very much a love song, but it's a very different kind of love song.
Yeah.
And I'm not a big Marvel guy, but in the show WandaVision, one of the lines is, "What is grief but love enduring?" And
wow.
My mom passed. Probably about 10 months after your dad passed, and a friend shared that with me, and like, that's absolutely true.
Yeah, 100%.
And when I listen to this music, your music, I hear that grief and your processing of it in what you're writing. And I don't like this term because it's overused, but it's true, and it fits here, and it's that it's authentic. And I know Steve always spoke very highly and just raved about your dad and what a man he was. So
cheers to Jimmy G. Yeah.
Cheers to Jimmy G. And the way you've honored him in your music is something that I know that he's proud of. And I hope that, how much did he get to hear of you playing before he passed?
So much, I mean, he was such a big supporter and fan of me playing music. It was such a, man, it was really bittersweet. Well, I'll say this: when the pandemic hit, everybody was doing live stream, concerts and stuff like that. And on my end, it's just, it doesn't even just scratch the surface of really playing in front of people. It was like, it was kind of difficult to do a lot of the live streams.
You can't do what you do on a live stream.
No, I was just, man, it was kind of depressing. But I was talking to my mom, and she was going like, your dad just, he watches every single one of those. Like, he can finally watch everything you do. He can participate in it, because he was, really, when we were touring and doing our thing, we started the band in 2015, and he passed away in 2020. He only got to see us a few times in there. So really, the way that he was engaging with our music was through our videos and through live streams and stuff like that. So it changed my perspective of how we do, like, I was like, okay, if I'm playing for him, that's actually means
enough.
Exactly.
That is enough.
Exactly.
That is enough.
So Sunburn had a lot of that. Yeah, it had a lot of grief in
Yep.
it, and it felt really cathartic to be able to, you know.
Yeah.
But also, none of those songs are really. I think none of those songs were explicitly about him
Right.
passing away. You know,
Right.
like we had a song that didn't make the album called Jump Shot, that my dad was a basketball player, that was kind of more that song. You know,
Yeah.
it was really more about him passing away. The memories come in every shape and size. Yesterday, a jump shot made me cry. That was sort of the hook of the song. And it was like, you know, I was writing these songs that I think a little bit they were too painful to finish. There's this other tune called, you know, it's like just talking about breaking down in the doors and windows section of Lowe's because you lost your father, and you're seeing all these men there and these grown men, you know, working and like sharing their skills with their kids, and you're this fatherless kid in the hardware store, you know?
Yeah.
And I've wanted to explore that more about fatherhood and masculinity, and those songs are starting to resurface for me now. But I've been able to capture some of that on the new EP, Slow Down Time, because like Killer Not a Lover, which you mentioned earlier, as well as the song High, both really deal with this topic. And I'm really happy to go there because everybody's dealing with grief, and I just want to be able to like freaking sing about it, man, and have people able to share that together.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about I don't want to discount Aloe at all.
That's
fantastic EP in and of itself.
Thank you.
Don't Settle Down is just a killer rock song.
Thank you. Yeah.
But let's just kind of follow the flow of things. Slow Down Time. 5-song EP out on March 22nd. And it's brilliant.
Thank you.
It is just brilliant from beginning to end, and it is a bit of a different feel for you guys. It's a bit of a stripped down sound, if that's fair. And one of the things that I kind of get out of it, it feels a little like the band.
Yes.
And I think that you've got, I think your voice has a Neil Young feel to it, but on this album, it's Levon Helm. I just get that sense in it, and the way the songs are built and feel it. That's just what I come away with it. But we'll come back to the title track in a second. But you talked about High and Killer Not a Lover. High is talking about getting high to numb the pain, but you also say, but that won't heal my broken heart. And the line that struck me was, and just like that, your last breath still holding your hand, send your spirit to the next shore. There's a party when you land. That felt very much like a dad thing.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that song is about swallowing the pill that life is hard.
Yeah.
You know, it's about just getting in touch with that. And you know, I remember I studied under this Franciscan teacher for a few years, a guy named Richard Rohr, and he does a lot around men's rites of passage and male initiation, which is something we don't really have a formal version of in our
Right.
culture. But he talks about the lessons that the young man needs to learn to be initiated into adulthood. And one of those lessons, as he studied all of these cultures that have really strict rites of passage, one of the lessons that the elders have to teach the young man is that your life is not about you, and your life is hard. Life is hard, which sounds very negative to a lot of people. But the older I get, the more I realize, that's true. And it doesn't mean life isn't beautiful and life isn't good, but
Right.
life is hard.
Yeah.
And when that hits you, are you going to run from it? Are you going to numb it? Like, what are you going to do? How are you going to respond to that?
Right.
And I love smoking weed and I love drinking, like having a good time. But I also am very sensitive to, I'm not going to do that to run away from the pain of reality. I'm going to embrace life and embrace death, because you don't have a choice.
Right.
So that song, I want to get high and numb the pain, drink enough wine till it don't sting, but that won't heal my bitter, broken heart. I want to get high and run away, because black and blue is here to stay, and I'll be damned if life isn't hard. It kind of felt like an Irish drinking song to me.
It kind of
as
does.
a Guinness lover. So I wanted to kind of capture a little bit of like a jovial nature when dealing about somebody dying and dealing with that.
Yeah. And that really plays into Killer, Not a Lover. And when you first sent me the EP, and I listened to it that night, and then I listened to Killer, Not a Lover probably 5 or 6 times in a row. Because you've got it. You can't just listen to it once, because you won't get it the first time.
Right.
But if you settle in with it and you give it time, give it space, this is brilliant song.
Thank you.
I mean, there's on the surface you're thinking, okay, well, you're not a lover, you're not sensitive, you're aggressive, and you're going to be violent, but that's not what it is at all. It's a never give up song.
It's exactly that. And I'll tell you what, it's funny you said that, because here's my never give up bracelet that my father wore for the last 6 years of his life.
Wow.
And so Killer, Not a Lover is 100% an anthem around that theme, because it's, you thought I was just going to roll over and play nice. It's like, well, I'm not. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to give it my all. Like, I'm never going to stop.
Right.
And it doesn't matter what that thing is, but playing that song live has been so cathartic for me, and for, our fans are really digging that. And it does the thing that I love, which is that we're able to combine these two worlds. It's 3 minutes of chilling out and sort of like, the band vibe, and then it rolls into just this sort of Rolling Stones rock and roll section. Yep. But it's really about like, man, just don't let this thing hold you down. Keep going for it.
Yeah.
And part of the personal side of that is that we were kind of painted into some funky, just getting in touch with the music industry from 2018 really up until 2023. We just had some funky stuff go down, and just people either mistreating us or not really not showing up for us when we hoped that they would. And we just felt like we were kind of put in the corner a little bit. And we made some changes a year ago where I just said, that's not happening anymore. You know, like I'm not doing this to have people around me that don't believe in this as much as I do.
Yeah.
And so I really wanted to capture that sort of gut energy with that song.
Yeah.
But be very vulnerable about it too.
Sure. Because you're not saying that I've got everything beat.
No,
You know, not at all. You're really embracing the fact that, as you said in the song before, life is hard.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to deal with this pain, but
Yes.
I'm not going to succumb to it. I'm not going to try to mask it or pretend that it's not there. I'm not going to take the blue pill.
Yes. Right.
I'm going to face reality for what reality is. And regardless of the odds, I'm not giving up. I'm the killer. I'm the fighter, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. It's so funny. Similar to Fuck LA. When we played this song live over the last month, you know, because I know the meaning of the song and because I know that's where the song is going, I've mentioned, you know, I'll maybe give a little 20-second intro to the song and then be like, so anyways, this song's called Killer Not a Lover. And for some reason in my head, people are always going to be like stoked and start clapping.
Yeah.
But nobody has any idea what it's about. And that title is like kind of jarring on its own.
Yeah.
So like nobody claps, you know, and
Right.
but people are like pin drop in the crowd.
Right.
Like people are like hanging on the words, which
Right.
means so much to me. Because I did really put a lot into that. I'm really happy with this new EP. I mean, it's a funny thing. EPs are a little bit frowned upon in the music industry. People just don't take them as seriously.
Mhm.
It's like everybody wants a record or a single, and EPs kind of in this middle land. And
Right.
I like going for a walk and listening to 4 or 5 songs at a time. And that's we in between album cycles. I just want to keep
Right.
putting out music because here's my spot. You know, it's
Right.
like, Jake, come on over. Here's a new tune. Da, 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 and then it's done. And I
Right.
want to find a way to put that out to people
Yeah.
pretty quickly. So that's what we're doing. You know, we got a new record out in November as well. But
good.
we a lot of fun stuff coming, which I'll send your way once we finish mixing.
That'll be great. And I like albums because they kind of, it's easy to track the progression with
Right.
an album.
Right.
You can do the same thing with an EP. EPs are
Sure.
great.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in a world where everybody's just releasing, you know, singles and singles and singles,
Yeah.
that's a little harder to capture and digest. But I also don't care for albums that are, you know, an hour and 45 minutes long.
Right. Right.
I just it's difficult to get through in a way that you can really capture as a listener the full meaning, the full story that the artist is trying to convey. You know, I like something that's, you know, between that, you know, 20-minute and 45-minute time frame, and you know, that's, you know, I can sit on the deck and have a pour of whiskey and I can listen to that album once or even twice and really truly enjoy it. And
it is the sweet spot for sure. I mean, and it's like, you know, even a lot of the well, really all the Beatles records, I mean, for the most part, maybe except for the White
Album,
they're all like 14 songs, and the songs are 2.5 minutes each.
Right.
And, you know, it's like 30 minutes of music or something like that. 34. It's so that's even Sunburned. We recorded, I don't know, we wrote 20 songs for it. Only 9 made the album because we were just like, we just want it to feel like you can sit down and throw it on, and before you know it, it's over, and you just had an epic joyride.
Yeah, but I like the fact that you don't necessarily feel like, okay, here's a song, it's 2.5 minutes, and then we go to the next one, because so much of your songs develop and change and morph in and of itself. So I like seeing that you got some on here that are in that 4.5-5 minute range.
Yes, yeah, and I think so. Here's an example, like High. Getting back to the dynamic thing, High I really feel like I was really excited about how that bridge came out, because the bridge goes into this whole sort of like flute section. There's a little bit of a key change,
Mhm.
and then the music comes back in, and there's this guitar and synth thing that's kind of fighting each other. And for me, that's what me and Jake, we just call it a scene change. A lot of times
Mhm.
we'll be talking about when we're in the studio, okay, like, have we kind of stagnated on this side? Do we want a scene change, or do we want to keep it in the same
Mhm.
world? And we wanted a scene change there, but we didn't want it to be too drastic. And
Mhm.
I was really happy with how that sort of, bridge section came out. And then Killer Not a Lover has a little bit more of a drastic scene
Yeah.
change. Second Gear is a little bit more straight ahead the whole time,
Uh-huh.
but it's a little kind of more chill. It's about driving slow and just letting the past go and just
Yep.
saying screw it and putting the windows down and just, whatever. We kind of wanted it to feel a little bit more mellow.
Yeah.
And then Paint the Town has a little bit of a whiskey call out.
Yes.
It's a little bottle of Crown.
Bottle of Crown. Yes.
And that's what I texted you about, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was like, are you going to send me some Crown Royale?
No, I'm not going to send you some Crown. But the one song we've not talked about is the title track, and that's Slow Down Time.
Right.
And that's a theme that a lot of very serious writers have addressed in their music at some point in their careers. The line, strumming along on a six string, watching the storm roll in,
Mhm.
is repeated several times in the song, which to me, that just evokes a feeling of, I'm going to sit here, I'm going to take everything in, and I'm not going to rush, I'm not in a hurry. And that is how I'm slowing down time. Is that fair? Is that on track?
That's 100% accurate. And there was a little bit of that song's a bit more narrative in that each time that line comes up in the song, it's kind of under different circumstances. And I was excited to sort of play with that. The first circumstance in which that line is introduced um, is almost a little bit, I wouldn't say more depressing, but it was kind of this feeling of, I'm sitting here playing my guitar, I'm doing this thing, and nobody really cares about me anymore. Like, the songs aren't hitting, or the
Right.
crowd isn't there. People have kind of turned their back on it or whatever. And so, but you're still doing it, right? And then the second time that line is introduced, it's kind of under this sort of almost fantasy of like, okay, well, maybe I'll leave this whole thing behind and just go, you know, buy a farm and live with, my wife and kids, and I'll just be strumming my guitar on the front porch,
Yep.
watching the storm roll in. But you come to find that that's only in this character's mind.
Yeah.
That time it sounds a little more soothing, like sitting there in Toledo,
Right.
like watching the storm come in, strumming your six string
Right.
on your board. That sounds like heaven to me. And then the third time is that, it kind of is, I'm going to do this no matter what. I'm on this other planet. I don't even care if anybody else is around me. I'm going to be strumming this guitar. This is what I'm here to do. And so I wanted to try to paint a different picture around that line every time it came in.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a very poetic technique. And you did it very effectively, and it's a great album title, great way to start the EP.
Thank you.
And this, you just need to download this and take it in and give it multiple listens. And it's 5 songs, probably about, I don't know, 20-25 minutes in total. So just carve out a couple of hours, listen to it 4 times, Don't necessarily have to do it with a bottle of Crown. You can maybe go with something different, but
maybe some courage and conviction.
Maybe some courage and conviction, because this album is fantastic. This thing is just great. Every song is just terrific, and I can't recommend that it is worth your time and attention to listen to it. And get out and see these guys. And it is, I've not seen you live yet, but when I do, I will give a full report. But everything I've seen in terms of videos online, it's a different experience.
Sure is.
It's a different experience. So I'm looking forward to it. So let's kind of wrap things up here a bit. Tell everybody where they can find you and the band on social media.
We're on pretty much every platform. It's been fun on Instagram. You can just check us out. We've got @Illiterate Light on any platform out there is where you're going to find us. On Instagram, we've had Jake's gone viral with these drumming videos on a few things recently. We have a few videos on there that have 1 million some,
wow,
views, which is pretty hilarious. But it's Jake jumping into a mosh pit or crowd surfing and then getting back and playing his drums from there. But the best thing that people can do, we have a few ways for people to engage with us that's really fun. So first off, following us on Spotify actually means a lot to us, and it really matters. And we put out a lot of music. And so if you're a music lover, if you follow us on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, you're going to get a notification every time we put out music. So that's probably the best way to get that. But really, so I am doing all this cool stuff this year. I'm doing tons of giveaways.
Yeah.
And I've been having so much fun doing this. So we have a band. I work with a platform called Community. We have a band we don't even have a real cell phone, but we have a band phone number. Mm-hmm. And if you text our phone number, which is 540-900-1645, you'll join our community. And once every 10 days or so, I do some wacky giveaway that I'm cooking up. And so right now we're doing a green room giveaway. So a few hundred people have already entered, and we're going to randomly select one winner. And that means that whatever show they're coming to in the next year, an hour before doors, they're invited to come. They're going to come into our green room. We're going to have a case of beer. We'll have some wine, some tequila, some chips and guacamole. And we're just going to kick it for an hour in the green room and play any song they want and just hang out,
That's awesome.
And then the show will kick off and it'll be off to the races from there.
Yeah.
But I've been doing these. We just I gave away a songwriting workshop, mm-hmm. and a dude won that. It's just me running all of it. So it's any idea that I think would be fun for our fans. If you want to be in on that and get a text from us every couple of weeks, then that's the best. That's the most fun version of what we're doing right now. So you can get that on our website. If anybody's interested, just go to our website. There's a link that says text us. And if you click that, you'll sign up.
Yeah. I think there's something that you're giving away and something that Jake's giving away. I think
that's right.
You gave away movie tickets, and he gave away the game Settlers of Catan.
Yeah, exactly. Which was super fun. So we were trying to divide everybody. We wanted everybody we made it a little competition.
Right.
And do you want Jeff's gig or Jake's? And we've got a few more where we're doing that. But then also we have a few where it's just everybody, where Jake and I have come together. So it's fun stuff. You got to find cool ways to, engage your fans and just really strengthen that connection, which we love doing.
Yeah, I shared the songwriting one, and I think Jake had offered to play drums on.
Yes,
so I shared that with several of my friends that are songwriters, performers. I signed up for to try to win the green show one. So nobody else signed up for that.
Well, winner will be chosen this week. You're in the running with a few hundred people.
Okay, but no, seriously, you sign up for everybody. Sign up for this stuff. It's a lot of fun, and again, it shows the sense of humor that Jeff and Jake have, and the connection that they want to have with the people that are listening to their music too. So.
Absolutely.
Great stuff. Great stuff. For our show, again, you can watch us on YouTube. You can listen on your favorite podcast platform. We have a Facebook page where we post all of our shows, including this one when it comes out. We have a Facebook group where we will post things about what we're listening to and what we might be drinking while we're listening to it. And we encourage everybody to join in and do the same with that. So, Jeff, man, I really enjoyed talking with you. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Just love what you're doing. The development that you and Jake as individually and as a band have had has been really fun to focus on the last couple of weeks, especially for me. But just can't say enough about Slow Down Time and how much I enjoyed it, and look forward to everybody else getting a chance to give it a listen. And just I tell people that have been guests on the show that this is like the Hotel of California. You can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave, because once you're a guest here, you know, anything you're doing, we're going to help promote it. We're going to do all we can to support you. And the same holds true for you. So please follow Illiterate Light on all the social media platforms. Get in with the text group. But we're going to be sharing shows, sharing new music as that comes about as well. So
awesome.
Jeff, thank you so much. All the best to Jake. Hopefully, when you guys release another group of songs in November, maybe we can get Jake on here with us.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah. And
the whiskey, he's very excited about it. So he's probably got his hands dirty painting a wall right now. They just bought a house, and he's like, dude, I'm in like home project world. But he sends his regards, and I know he'll join us next time.
That'll be great. That'll be great. We can ask him about his affinity for Sheila E. So
there you go.
All right. Until next time, thank you all for watching. And on behalf of Jeff and myself, we appreciate that. Until next time, cheers, love, and free bird.